And as far as why do I want to be on a nonprofit board? I mean, it's easy for especially somebody in my position as a lawyer that you deal with companies and individuals that are all successful and big dollars and things kind of can get away from you. It's easy to sit up and right now I'm on the 43rd floor of the Wells Fargo building looking out over the Mississippi River, and it's quite easy to sit up here and not really put your feet on the ground and have some kind of access to others that are in need and people that could use my talents and my strengths in a positive way. I took a class my second year in law school. It was called corporate finance, and it was the teacher was just super intriguing and inspiring, and just seemed like a light bulb went off in my head, and so that would be really neat to do. And out of law school, I worked at Briggs & Morgan for 6 or 7 years and worked probably harder than I ever had. Kind of neat to talk to your friends and say, hey, I worked till 2 a.m. last night, and I was at the financial printer doing an IPO and flew out to Washington, D.C. to file documents with the SEC, things like that. Where there was 1 month when I was a young lawyer where I got to know my paper boy very well, because I'd be coming home at 3 or 4 in the morning when he was doing his paper out, and we got to know each other very well. He thought I was crazy, but I would come home and take a couple-hour nap, change clothes, and go back at it. So it was fun, but glad I don't have to do it now with 3 kids at home and all the struggles that life has right now. I'm good friends with Mike Sable, and he asked me if I'd be interested, and obviously I looked into it and talked to Mike and others quite a bit. It just seems like a good fit. It seems like the vision, helping others, trying to make a difference in the community is something that I really want to do and to be a part of. New ideas. Rebranding is always a very hard thing to go through, and I've done it a couple times with other entities, and I know trying to find your footing after a rebranding and getting the name out there and trying to keep the mission as to what it is, but also pivot as to new and better ideas as to where the future of the entity is going. But also think outside the box too. It's neat for me to be on nonprofits and not just have my legal hat on and think about the practicalities of running a business and a nonprofit. And I think the greater good. I mean, if we all work together, you kind of is hand in hand with the social justice theme, where if we all work together and build, whether it be a better community, better organization, better network, that it's beneficial to everybody. Before we were talking, I was on another call talking about the Derek Chauvin trial, and I think that is, critical what's going on in our community, not only in Minneapolis, but all over the country. I mean, we've had injustice and inequality has come to a forefront. You have to applaud people like the Major League Baseball, who pulled the All-Star game from Georgia because of the voting rights. The business leaders and city leaders and politicians need to really step forth and give a plan on how to solve these inequalities that are going on and have gone on for way too long. When I was at Marquette, I was able to work in a clinic where we would go into the public schooling systems and try to do a mentoring and tutoring with the younger children, and it was eye-opening to me. I mean, I came from a suburb of Minneapolis, went to a private high school. I'd never experienced kids not having anything. That being 30 years later, it's like, well, I still see those things, and I still wish there was a solution, and then try to do things to help communities in need. And I try to instill that into my children as well. And my wife and I have had them go to homeless shelters with us and serve people and donate and raise money. And I have 3 young children, a junior in high school, a freshman in high school, and a 6th grader. And spending time with them, whether it be going to a ball game with my son, or watching my oldest daughter is a competitive Irish dancer, just going and watching her. My daughter, the 6th grader, she would go every day during the pandemic. I'd come home from work and we'd take a walk around. We live right by Minnehaha Parkway. We walk the parkway and she'd collect rocks And then we'd get home, she'd paint them. And then the next day she'd go and put them on the parkway and she spread her joy throughout the community. And so there's little sayings on all the rocks, like stays positive and God loves you and things like that, or just peace signs. And she actually did over 3,000 rocks during the pandemic. You know, take this as you will, but Dwayne Wade, I don't know if you know who Dwayne Wade is. He's a retired professional basketball player, played for the Miami Heat, is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. He does a lot of things in the community, but he went to Marquette, and I'm a big basketball fan, and Marquette is a big basketball school, and I've always followed his career. My wife thinks it's a little weird. I think that it is maybe a weird celebrity crush, but somebody that I'd love to someday have a beer with. Yeah.